Hey everybody, my name is T, and today we're talking about 7 reasons you should stop using your real book. The first reason is there's a lot of inaccuracies in the melody and the changes of tunes in the real book. This is not something that's done intentionally, but instead it's just a realistic fact of trying to produce lead sheets for jazz music. When you definitively say that one version is the version that everybody plays, that's not necessarily going to hold true for long-term or regions or individuals that you're playing with. And that leads me to reason number 2, you should dump your real book. And while this is a standalone reason, it really ties back to number 1. And that's taking into consideration all the different versions of tunes. Think about the way that Miles Davis played certain tunes versus the way that other people have played them in the past. A great example of this is Have You Met Miss Jones? How it's portrayed in the real book with the changes is that there's a sharp 1 diminished. It goes from F major to F sharp major diminished to 2. But in reality, I've never played that tune with anyone in which that sharp 1 diminished was something that people played. What's much more common in that tune is a 1, 4, 3, 6, 2. Change right off the top of each one of the A sections. Another thing that you'll commonly hear jazz musicians play in a tune like Have You Met Miss Jones is at the end of the first A section, there's a long 2-5, G minor, C7, back to the top. But if you check out a musician like Kenny Barron, he actually plays chromatic 2-5s in place of the long 2-5 there. So instead of 1 bar of G minor 7 and 1 bar of C7, he plays A flat minor 7 to D flat 7 for a bar, G minor 7 to C7 for a bar, F major, top of the second A. And there's a whole host of tunes where this isn't the case, where different versions create inaccuracy or discrepancies. And I could go on about this for a very long time, but we're going to leave it at Have You Met Miss Jones? The third reason you should dump your real book is listening and interaction. In a way, this actually relates back to the first and second reason. But if you're playing tunes out of a real book, your head is most likely buried in the book, and you're not necessarily listening to what's happening around you. So the musicians that you're playing with may be playing a different version of the tune. They may be playing like what I talked about Kenny Barron plays, where you have chromatic 2-5s at the end of the first A section. And you're reading out of a real book that has G minor 7 for a bar, C7 for a bar. You're never going to notice that that's going on. And if you do notice, you're going to be confused about what they're playing. That's not a great way to interact with other musicians on the bandstand. And it can affect on-the-spot arrangements of how the band is going to play the music. Jazz is a living, breathing music in which it doesn't necessarily always have to be played the same way. What if the musicians in your band set up a hit on 4 in one of the measures to really accent a part of the melody? But in the real book, you don't necessarily have that hit. And you haven't been listening to what's happening around you that's setting up that 4 that's going to make it really obvious that that's about to occur. If you're looking, interacting, and listening to the other musicians that you're playing with, that hit is going to be extremely obvious. If your head is buried in the book, you're going to miss it. My fourth reason for dumping your real book is it becomes a crutch for memorization. And this applies to forms, changes, and melodies. That crutch limits your musical memory. Being able to remember all of the different things that happens in tunes is really a skill that you need to build up and develop. What I mean by that is taking a tune like It Could Happen to You. It Could Happen to You has a lot of really traditional harmony that you might hear in jazz music. But if you've tried to memorize the tune by basically reading it all of the time, then you're not going to be in tune to some of that harmony that's happening. So let's talk about that a little bit. Right off the top of It Could Happen to You, something that's really commonly played that you hear in Blue Mitchell's version of this tune is a 1, 4, 3, 6, 2 to F minor. If you've developed your musical memory, that 1, 4, 3, 6 that you see right off the top is something that you've seen a lot of different times in different tunes. And it's not something that's difficult to remember. You just remember that that harmony happens at the top. After that F minor, we have an A minor 7 flat 5 to a D7 flat 9 back to E flat major. There's a lot of terminology for this particular set of changes. I like the slang term screen door for this. It's a type of harmony that you see a lot in jazz music, and it's something that brings you back to that one chord. The development of my musical memory really helps me internalize that set of changes. Same thing from 1 to 4 to a minor 2-5 back to the 2, and then we have a backdoor harmony. A flat minor 7, D flat 7, E flat major. So those changes in it could happen to you. 1, 4, 3, 6, 2, screen door, 1, 4, 3, 6, 2, back door, 1, and then a minor 2-5 to 6, minor, right? Here's another place where you're probably going to hear C minor, F7, and then chromatic 2-5s into the 1 chord. A lot of that information isn't in the changes that are written in the tune for the real book, but they're different versions that I've picked up from playing with a lot of professional jazz musicians. My ears are open, I'm listening, I'm interacting, and I'm finding these different sets of harmony. And my musical memory has been developed from learning tunes so that I recognize that type of harmony when I hear it. I recognize a screen door. I know that the bass player is playing that set of harmony there, and it allows me to instantly adjust to what the bass player and the piano player are doing. This includes what you might be hearing from a soloist. You may hear information like that in what the soloist is playing, and you can support them by quickly adjusting and playing common jazz harmony vocabulary under their lines. The 5th reason for dumping your real book: it's not the greatest list of tunes. I know a lot of my students think that the tune list that's in the front of the real book is the tune list Bible for jazz musicians, but that is not the case. A lot of those tunes are never going to get called on a gig. I'm not saying that they're not great tunes, but they're not things that people are going to play and have memorized in a common enough situation where you get up on the bandstand and you're just calling tunes and somebody's going to call Steve Swallow's Doing the Pig. That's just not going to happen commonly enough that you're going to need your real book on a gig to know that tune. And a lot of the other tunes that are in the real book, All of Me, Autumn Leaves, On Green Dolphin Street, All the Things You Are, There Is No Greater Love, these are all tunes that you should have memorized. And if you bring a book up on stage and start reading There Will Never Be Another You, it's not going to look great for you. My 6th reason for dumping your real book is the best way to learn the intricacies of jazz music is to start learning tunes by ear. There's no better way to understand jazz harmony, the use of melody and how chord tones fit with harmony, and get different versions and the ways that historical jazz figures play their tunes under your fingers and in your ears than to start learning jazz tunes by ear. And you can start out really simply. Learn a tune like Softly as in a Morning Sunrise, or Freddie Freeloader, or So What. Learn those tunes by ear and continually double check yourself by checking out other versions and see what you hear other people playing. See if you can find live video and see what people's hands are actually doing on the particular instrument. See if you can find out where they're playing. But just do something to try and double check your ears, but make sure that you're developing your ears, your musical memory, all of these things by learning jazz tunes by ear. And my 7th reason for dumping your real book is ear training. A fantastic way to develop your ears and listening ability is through learning jazz tunes by ear. Go out there and start learning those standards as soon as you possibly can. Make it 1 a week, maybe 2 a week, whatever you feel comfortable doing, and try and start ingesting that music as quickly as you can. And make sure that you're listening. This will help you play the ideas that you hear in your mind, the things that you've been practicing. It'll help you to react to different harmonies from different versions of the tunes. It'll help you focus on different feels, dynamics that the band might be playing with, different harmonic ideas, and it'll really help you start to come up with fantastic melodic ideas in your playing. And finally, I'm not saying that real books are bad, but I am saying that they are a tool and should be used as a tool and not as a crutch. It's really easy to let your real book become a bad habit or a crutch, something that you lean on and think that that is helping you be a better jazz musician. That is not the case. You may be doing a lot of things wrong by using your real book and you may not even know it. And trust me, it is a lot harder to memorize a tune on a piece of paper than it is to memorize a tune that you've heard a lot. If you can sing that melody, you can most likely play it. That's it for this week. I hope this video has been helpful. If you have any questions about doing any of these particular things that I've mentioned to try and break away from the habit of using your real book, please feel free to reach out to me. If you like this video, please hit the subscribe button. I'll put it in the bottom corner right here. And from there, you can get more of these videos that I do every week. Thanks, and I'll see you next week.